Hello there everyone, and welcome back to the next video for the Clone Wars MOC update series. Today is a really large episode, a lot of progress in the village here today, so I hope you guys are excited for that. I'm going to keep this short, and it's a little bit of a longer video, but if you stick around to the end, you get to see some pretty good progress on one of the main buildings, and that's the building you see right here behind these clone troopers. I hope you guys are excited, and without any further ado, let's get started. Alright guys, to start off this episode, I'm going to work on something that I talked about in a previous episode about this kind of fountain idea, or this courtyard idea, and I was talking about a very famous picture from Stalingrad where you had a bunch of kind of statues of children. There's like an alligator or something in the middle, and it's like this very famous Stalingrad picture, and I said I kind of wanted to recreate that in this village. So now obviously the problem would be I want to make them like they were like humans, obviously, in the stones. It was like a bunch of kids, but for minifigures, like it would have to be kind of like a plain torso of some sort of color, and I couldn't really find any. Like I was looking for like plain gray torsos in my collection. I couldn't find any because I wanted to just make a circle of minifigures like all holding hands, but I didn't really have that, so I tried to think of something else that would fit the Star Wars universe, and I kind of came up with the idea of just using droids kind of as this statue. So as you can see, I've got some like chrome droids. They're from like the Assassin Droids battle pack, and I've kind of positioned their arms so they're kind of all grabbing each other and kind of all holding hands in a circle, just like the actual statue. And then I don't have an alligator, so I just used a womp rat. I don't know if you can tell in there, but there's a little womp rat. I don't know, that's probably not going to stay there, but I thought it was kind of funny. But so yeah, as you can see here, this is the general idea. Obviously nothing, I haven't positioned them correctly, space-wise, because they all should be like all kind of interlocking hands. But I think this was just a test to see what I want to use, and I think I want to try to make this fountain and courtyard area and have like these droids be the main statues. I think that might be a cool, unique take on the Stalingrad picture, just because it just fits the Star Wars universe. Going with droids instead of like a regular minifigure. I think it just fits, especially for this build. So I think I'm going to go ahead and continue to work on this fountain, but I just wanted to experiment with what the actual statues were going to be themselves. Yet again, I was sitting here working on something and I had a new idea pop in my head, and what I did was I stopped what I was doing and I decided to go ahead and see what that new idea looked like, kind of in real form. So that happens like every single episode. I'll be working on something and then a new idea will just pop in my head and I'll have to drop everything and I'll have to start that new idea. Some people might find that a little bit annoying, but like for me, I just can't, like once I think of an idea, I have to just do it and finish it. I can't really move on. As you saw with like when I did the hangar and everything like that, that was a huge deal of where it was not in the original plans, but then I thought of it and then I just knocked it out in like a few days because I couldn't stand the idea of not finishing it. So that has kind of happened again. As you recall, the last segment I was working on the statue. I have kind of moved where that's going to be placed. I've torn up some of the path, and you'll see a new structure here is started to be built. So I'll explain what the plan for this new structure is right now. Here we go again. All right, so this is actually going to be a little bit of a sneak peek here for the next big Brickworld 2021 MOC that Paul and I have planned. This is going to be a little bit of a test. So I'm going to be building a building in a similar style to what the building is going to be like in the next build, the next big large scale build. So I'm going to kind of test out some techniques and do a little test and see if it works, because I think it's going to fit really well in this environment, and it'll be a nice test to see how I might go about kind of designing a lot of the buildings for the next large scale MOC. So maybe when this building is done here, you might be able to give a accurate guess of what the next build is going to be, but my goal is to just test that out, and then I'll add a lot of stuff to this building right here to make it, fit this MOC. So it's not just like an entire, just a throwaway test. This is actually going to be a building. So kind of what I'm thinking is having it be like a larger building, like kind of the center of the town, kind of like, maybe it's like the capital of the town, kind of, it's like the main capital building of the town. So you'll kind of walk in through the security checkpoint right here, and then you'll kind of walk past this fountain right here, or the statues, and I'm going to fix the path. So it's just going to kind of go all the way around the statue right there. And then you walk up the steps. You see I'm working on steps, and I've got all these cool pillars. I'm going to do a lot of cool designs with these kind of cylinder pieces with kind of these grooves on the side. I don't know exactly what they're called, but I'm going to do a lot of cool stuff with that. And then it'll be kind of a larger building, and then I'm going to make an interior for it, I think. So the kind of backside You'll be able to look in the backside and you'll be able to see some like interior action going on with some CQB fighting and everything like that. And then it's also going to be pretty heavily damaged to fit the rest of the village here. So it's going to have a lot of damage in it. A lot of droids or clones shooting through the building, in the basement, in the top level, trying to snipe. Like there'd be a lot of really, really cool and chaotic battle scenes going on in there. So I'm going to keep working on this building. This episode is now going to turn into building this statue and then also building this new kind of larger building. So, yep, I thought this would be a little bit more interesting than just me working on a statue the whole time. So I wanted to change it up a bit. So now we've got some more exciting stuff going on. All right, so the last time you saw this, I didn't have a whole lot of progress done. You just saw me kind of start to work on a few little parts of this building, but I've kind of now spent a night and kind of reworked some of the design and added to it a little bit more here. You can see these stairs, I kind of tiled them off as they go up over here. I added in some slopes on the sides and I kind of fixed some of these like cylinder pieces and pillars, and then I actually started to add in the structure of the whole building. So about halfway through it didn't look very good and I was really, really worried, but I kind of was able to change it a little bit to make it a little bit better here. So yeah, I just wanted to update you guys real quick and kind of show you guys what I'm thinking of right now. You can see I've got the pillars going all along the outside here, and then you can see over in there as well, we've got the kind of outline structure of the building started to lay down just to get a sense of how big the building's going to be. But you can see these pillars right here, and you can see a clone trooper. So kind of what I think is going to be cool is these are kind of going to go all the way around the building, and then you see the stuff on the inside, that's where the actual building is going to go. So pretty much clones or droids or whoever's in control of this building are going to be able to like fight on the outside of the building and use all these pillars as cover. So they're kind of taking cover behind the pillars and shooting out and kind of using it as a good place to kind of defend a position from. So that's kind of what the pillars are doing there all the way around. So then there can be a lot of battles going on along the outside. Obviously the inside of the building, like the actual building structure, will also be a little bit battle damaged and destroyed. But yeah, then here's a look at the stairs as well. Still need to fix a few things here and there, but that's kind of the general idea. And then we've got these slopes on the side too. It just looked really weird because it was very blocky, so I just wanted to add something to it to hopefully make it look a little bit better, but I don't know what I'm going to do with those now. They're just kind of sitting there, and I just got to figure out a way to integrate them into the building. The next process that I need to work on is actually building the actual structure of the building, because that's the next big step before I kind of move on to anything else. And then here's another look from a little farther back, just like earlier. It's looking decent so far. I can imagine what it's going to look like in my head, so I'm actually pretty excited about it. But I need to get back to work. I just thought I'd show you guys kind of an overview of what I'm doing so far and show you kind of how big. The building's a little big, which I'll talk about this later. It's going to cause some scaling problems, but for now I'm just going to try to build without any limitations on the actual building and not really worry about, anything else besides making this building look good. So that's what I'm going to get to work on right now. As you guys can see, I have done a little bit more work here on the main building. I have a few cool different designs to show you guys that I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say, because this building I'm trying to make it a little bit different than the other ones. But first off, if you can see down over there on these stairs, you can see I've put a bunch of cheese slopes down there, and they're kind of they're upside down and like backwards, and it creates a cool railing type effect. So you can see here a little bit closer the cheese slopes all in there, and they're kind of upside down and backwards and all sorts of stuff, and it just, I think it gives a really cool kind of just like a railing. It's not really a railing because it's not tall enough, but it just kind of rounds off the stairs so it doesn't feel like they're just like flat tiles, like it just looked very obvious that it wasn't really that good looking for stairs. But I think this kind of just tiles it, just smooths it, makes it a lot smoother, and I like the kind of the vibe it gives and the way it looks from kind of doing it upside down like that. I never really thought to do that before, kind of stumbled upon it when I was trying to figure out. I took a bunch of cheese slopes and I just started placing them in every single direction here on the stairs to try to figure out which one I liked. And this one was kind of one that I stumbled upon at like the very last try. Like I found one that I liked, was like, all right, I'm done. And then I kind of did one more, and then it kind of turned out like this. So I think it looks pretty cool. I think it gives a good kind of finished, polished look to the stairs, so it doesn't look so kind of bland and boring. So I'm definitely happy about that. And then here's the first design I came up with for the for the building. So I didn't want to make it the exact same as all the other buildings because I felt like I wanted to make something a little bit different, because right now they're all very similar in the way they look and kind of the way they feel in the overall MOC. So I wanted to make this one a little bit different. Obviously I'm sticking towards the same kind of color palette here with the light gray and dark gray, but I wanted to make it a little bit different. So there's kind of what I came up with. I'll try to get a little close-up shot in a little bit, but for back here you can kind of see I used the 1x2 light gray pieces with like this weird groove down the middle, so it's like cut out a little bit, and then I put a 1x2 plate connecting all of them, and now they have a really cool kind of pattern that I kind of like, but at the same time I'm not sure how I feel about it yet for like a finished building, because this was just one of the earlier designs I came up with, and I'm kind of just going to build it and see what it looks like. But it's possible that I might just, get rid of the design fairly soon. I don't know. I'll have to see how I feel about it in a little while longer. And then maybe if I still have this standing by the end of the episode, I'll definitely ask you guys for some feedback on this. And then I put some glass windows down there too. And those are placeholder because I want to change those out and make them like destroyed. So like the glass has kind of been blown out. That's kind of what I want to do later. But for now, I want to get to work on this building. And then you can see up top I started kind of a new layer of dark gray. So I think like this will be kind of the first main area as a light gray, and then as the farther you go up it kind of turns into more of a dark gray structure, and you can see I'm already starting to add some battle damage and everything like that. So this building's still going to look different, but it's still going to be very battle damaged, so it kind of matches the rest of the village. But I wanted to show you guys this for now, just to show you guys like what the first design I came up with was. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to work on this building. Here's a little bit of a closer look at the building here. So this is a cool angle that I found with one of the clone troopers in there. So you'll probably see a few clone troopers in the final cinematic in that building, either clone troopers or maybe part of the local, like the separatist aligned militia guys. Maybe they'll be in the building, but either way, I'm going to make that window a little bit destroyed and then probably have a guy peeking through it. But here's a little bit of a closer look at the actual design that I did. So again, it's those 1x2 like light gray bricks, and then it's got like the little groove down the middle. And then I've just put the plate underneath it to kind of give it a nice, kind of to break it up so it's not just the same piece every single time. Because I definitely like it if, like, say you're building a structure or something, it's kind of nice to throw some like randomness in there, or uniformed randomness. It's kind of another way. Where it's like you don't use the same piece every time. I like to break up some of the pieces every time so it doesn't look like the exact same. At least that's what I like to do with my buildings, but there are definitely times when using the same piece will be beneficial, just depending on what you're building. But for this village here, I think the more randomized kind of the uniformed randomized buildings, that's what I'll call it, where you've got these random kind of different things throughout all the different buildings, but they're also kind of clumped together so it feels natural. That's kind of what I'm trying to go for here. But I don't know why I just went on that huge side tangent right there, but I just wanted to show you guys what exactly the technique I used for this building was with those 1x2 parts, and then the groove down the middle. It gives it just a nice texture. So yep, that's pretty much what I did. So I'm gonna continue to work on the building, and I'll update you guys here in a little bit. Alright guys, so I worked on this building quite a bit. I was planning on just updating you guys like every once in a while, but I kind of just got in the zone and just decided to go for it and to make a lot of progress before I made another little video segment here. So as you can see, the last time I showed you was kind of on that right side over there as I was just starting to build kind of the wall for the building, and I went ahead and did this other side as well. So it's the exact same as the side that I just showed you guys, exact same pattern and everything like that. And then you also can see up top here, I started to add in what I wanted to do for this top part, and then finally, like, I'm starting to do the shape of the door, but that's not really a big concern right now because I want to just get the size of this building correct first. But as you can see over here, my goal for this building was I really wanted to have like two different like kind of color palettes, if that makes sense. So like the bottom was going to be primarily light gray, and I wanted the top to be like kind of dark gray, and I kind of was looking at some people, like World War II builders and some of their buildings, and then looked at some more Stalingrad stuff, and I really liked the idea of kind of splitting it up like this, but the bottom still has some dark gray elements, with the plates. So here's what I'm going for up top. I just want to make this top part just completely bombed out. As you can see, like, I'm kind of showing where like the building used to be, like the top of the building used to all be connected just like this bottom part, but it just got completely shelled out by like artillery. and fire from the mountain. So that's kind of what I'm going for up here. And like once I'm done, I think I'm going to put a bunch of debris actually in the building. And as you can see out here, everything's just getting kind of destroyed. And I've got lots of little like holes in the wall where whoever's occupying this building can kind of peek out and shoot into the other buildings and like out on the street. So you can see all the small little details here with masonry, and I used actually a lot of 1x1 plates, like dark gray plates, and then some different cheese slopes and everything to really experiment with just kind of a destroyed building type of thing. I really want to make it seem like there's not much, of the structure left. It all kind of got completely bombed out. So that's kind of what I've been using a lot of those 1x1s for, because you kind of can stack them at different levels. So you can kind of see every once in a while I stack them at different levels, and it kind of makes it seem like, some of this, it's not even. So like when the building exploded, it wasn't just like there was all these big chunks that kind of fell off. There's a lot of maybe smaller parts, and like it's all really, really uneven now. So that's kind of what the 1x1s do. At least that's what I'm hoping it'll kind of look like. And then here's the other side here. Again, like the corners just kind of also destroyed, and you see I've got all these different smaller dark gray parts. I'm kind of messing around with like what it would look like if I turn them sideways. So that's kind of what's going on up there. I might just make them normal instead of sideways, but yeah, lots of masonry and all the destroyed stuff. Here's a little kind of hole in the wall there. You can see I used some different inverted slopes and cheese slopes to kind of make it like an uneven crack. I didn't want to make it just like a symmetrical. Obviously, it's not really supposed to be symmetrical. So this is just like a kind of like maybe, Super Battle Droid launched a wrist rocket and kind of the building didn't like explode from the wrist rocket, but this portion right here just kind of fell out. So that's kind of what I'm going for here, is a lot of different small damage like on the top part here. So there's lots of different holes that people can peek out of when they're trying to take over the village. So yep, I think I'm going to continue to work and I'll update you guys, but it's getting pretty close here. I don't know how tall I want to make the top part, but another main thing to consider here is the scale factor. So as much as I would love to make this a super tall building, I'm planning on making that building on the left over there. I plan on that being super tall, and I want to make this one tall. But the big problem with kind of MOCs at this scale, and this is another reason why Paul and I usually don't use any like vehicles or sets. Like we did our very, very first year, but I kind of realized that that wasn't the best idea. And the reason for that is because like when you have this, like this build is fairly big, but like it's not completely say like a minifig scale thing. What I mean by that is due to like parts limitation when you're building, depending how many parts you have, but for like this mountain right here. So for the mountain, it's like, it's fairly tall, but it probably would be a lot taller if it was a real mountain, right? Because it's still pretty tall for a minifig. But when you compare that with like if I put a HTE right here, or like a clone gunship, all of a sudden it's like, well, the mountain's not really that big because the gunship is almost as tall as like in the mountain, or actually, I'll just, here, this will be a lot easier. Here's what I kind of mean. Now, obviously this HTE probably isn't, it's not exactly minifig scale, as a lot of the Lego sets aren't minifig scale, but kind of what I mean by this is like now, say if we did have an ATTE in here, I didn't build the mountain tall enough to scale it properly for any vehicles, because like this ATTE is almost as tall as the mountain, and then it's like, well, I guess the mountain's not really that tall, but so that's kind of the scale thing why I don't really use many Lego sets in my builds or anything like that. But say if I were to build like an absolutely giant MOC and I was able to get like the scale right, then I totally would throw in, ATTE, because I mean, who doesn't want some Republic armor, in the battle? But anyway, going back to my point, that was a huge side note, I'm sorry. But going back to my point is, with this building right here, I don't want to build it so tall that it almost is as tall as the mountain, right? So that's kind of the whole scale thing, is like, well, why would, one of these buildings be as tall as like a mountain? A mountain would probably be taller than a building. At least that's what I want for this MOC, is I want the mountain and the fortress to feel absolutely massive. So when the clones are attacking it, it seems like they're at a really big disadvantage, because they're attacking a huge fortress. And I don't want there to be a building that's, as tall as the mountain, at least more than one, because I want the mountain to really seem intimidating for the minifigures and the clones. So that's kind of the worry with this building, is making it, small enough to not throw off the scale of the mountain, but still making it large enough where there's a lot of details I can pack in and have a lot of figures in the building. So that's kind of the struggle and balance that I'm trying to figure out here, just because I want to make sure the mountain feels like a huge, massive fortress that is really hard for the Republic to like siege, you know. I really want to make it seem intimidating, and by throwing in, you know, awesome Lego sets and making a building more, if I make multiple buildings super tall and I have like a Lego set in there, then all of a sudden it's like, well, now the mountain doesn't seem as intimidating because, you know, it's not as big. So that's kind of the thought process behind a lot of the scale stuff. I don't know if that was, you know, any stuff people were wondering about, like why I don't use a lot of Lego sets in my builds, but that's kind of the whole thought process behind that. So all that being said, I'm going to get to work on this building. I'm going to finish it up and then I'll update you guys. All right, guys, so as you can see here, I did a lot more work on this building here. I am now happy to say that for the moment, I am mostly done with this. Like I might just, for this episode, I'll show you a little bit of the kind of statue area, but for this building right here, I'm kind of going to call it good for now because I need to move on to the next building. Because the thing I do with these episodes is I like to build as far as I can, and then before I go any farther, I like to get feedback from you guys. So then if like there's some major changes you guys think would look good, I don't want to have to, you know, tear down like an entire finished building. I'd rather just, you know, still have it in a state where I can go in and repair things once I hear back from you guys for feedback. So you can see kind of around the top area here that I started to add a lot more parts and different damage elements to the build. You can see up front here has a whole bunch of new structure parts in here to make it seem like there was more of a, you know, more of the building, because earlier I only had it like 2 or 3 plates high, like the dark gray stuff. So now I've kind of started to stack it a lot higher here, as you can see, to really make it feel like there was a large building here before it was kind of bombed out here. So, all right, I'm pretty much going to go around the top part of the building here and show you guys all the new stuff that I did to this top part. So starting off over here, I don't remember what I showed last time, but here's just a little bit of it, some more damage. I kind of worked on this left side a little bit, added in some kind of like uneven kind of structure like bars and everything. You kind of see how it's like tilted to a little bit to one side just to give it a little more character, like it's kind of just still barely hanging on and it's about to fall off now. And then over here in that corner I did some more work to make it a little more battle damage on that side. And then this is up front here on the main part of the building. You can see I added in a whole lot more. This is a lot different than what you saw last time. I've got kind of a bigger wall right here to make it kind of fit with the rest of the sides to make it seem like this was a fairly large building before it got severely battle damaged. Then you can see right there I've got an interesting structure kind of built like an angle, so I kind of didn't actually place it. I've got it like kind of jammed in there between that stud and that cheese slope down over there. So I think that gives a really cool effect of it kind of like falling, and it's just like chilling there right now before another like airstrike hits and it falls off again. And then there's this side over here. I don't know if I showed that yet, but pretty much the same, just got that main crack right there. I'll just call that like a wrist rocket damage. I'm pretending like a wrist rocket hit that part and it kind of fell out. So I think this is the same from what I showed last time, but there's a closer look. I think from this angle back here is kind of where the building starts to kind of look really good from a distance because it's supposed to be like, I think this building is going to be the one that catches your eye, like when you're looking at this build. Not just because it's like, kind of just because it's in the center of the build, and it kind of is just centered with everything else. Like all the buildings are kind of around it. So I think this is going to be the main building that you kind of see. Like when you first see pictures of the MOC or the video, you're kind of going to look towards this main structure here because it's a little bit taller and it's in the center. And I've got all this other stuff built in around it with those slopes and the stairs. But back here you can see kind of what all that damaged dark gray stuff at the top is looking like. I'm definitely liking the way it's turning out. I really just want to make it seem like this building has just been taking an absolute beating with so many, you know, like wrist rockets, artillery, rocket launchers, all sorts of stuff just kind of starting to destroy this top area of the building, where the bottom area is still mostly intact, but the top is just kind of completely gone. So now it's kind of a good spot for any like fighters to stand up there and kind of shoot through all these small little cracks because they have a good vantage point over the city, and they also have a good cover from like blaster fire. Now if an artillery strike or an airstrike comes in, then obviously those guys might be in trouble, but I think it looks pretty cool from back here. The pillars, I don't know what I'm going to do with those pillars because I had an idea for them, but now I don't think that's going to look that good, so now they're just kind of standing there. So I don't know if I'll keep those in there or if I'll take them out, but for now I'm going to keep them there because I think they're a really cool thing for like the clones to take cover behind, because I really want there to be some awesome figure battles going on like in and around this building. And then down over here, last time you saw this, it was just kind of a bunch of 2x4s holding up all these different plates to the building. But I went back in and added a little more texture to it, so to make it a lot more interesting to look at. So this is kind of the side of the building that's kind of holding up all these different plates, I didn't want to leave it open. I wanted to make it seem like there was stuff underneath here, and I'll get to that in a second, what my kind of idea behind this is. But also down there you can see a little bit of a kind of destroyed part in the wall, and I don't know how well you can tell, but I've got an MG42 from World War II from Brick Arms sticking out of there, that kind of hole right there in the wall, and that's pretty much going to be one of the Easter eggs. So since I said this is going to be based off Stalingrad, like a lot of this building, I want to have a few Easter eggs, and I've got some fun ideas for different ways to include some cool World War II stuff. So this is one of the Easter eggs. I've got an MG42 just sitting down there, and maybe some clones will come around a corner and have to go face to face with an MG42. That would be confusing for them, but still very dangerous. So that's kind of what this is down here. It's just a nice little area to give it some texture, so it wasn't just plain, 2x4. So you can see I've got some different plates in there, some masonry, some studs, and then some cheese slopes in there as well, just to give it a good texture. And then of course a good old womp rat down there hanging out. And then down on this side, so we are on the complete opposite side. I just showed you that side over there. This over here is pretty much the same thing. I've got some more detail down in here just to give it a good texture, so now it looks similar on both sides. And instead of an MG42 down in that hole over there, I've got a Mosin from the kind of Russian rifle. That's what it is. So I've got that in there as the other World War II Easter egg. I don't know if that'll stay there. The MG42 I think will definitely stay there, but I might change this to make it just a normal blaster. But yeah, this side pretty much the same. You can kind of see what I'm going for here, and I think it looks really good with the pillars. I think it fits very well with the pillars, and I tried to go with the design where I kind of have some dark gray spots go in and out of like a primarily light gray part, just to add some few dark gray kind of sections into it to give it a nice different color palette, so it's not all the same, just light gray. So dark gray, light gray, always a great combo. Alright, so the main idea I kind of had for this building, and kind of the reason where it's at right now is, so you remember this spot down here, same on the other side where there's that kind of gun hole right there sticking out. So my idea is, if you remember this hideout down here, I'll put a link to it, that episode, an info card right now if you want to check it out. I don't have any of the lights hooked up right now or anything, but down here we've got a little secret hideout for like this separatist aligned like fighters, like militia guys. And my thought with this building is, I think what I want to do is eventually I want to put a trapdoor in there. So there's like a little entrance in that room in this big main building, and theoretically that would lead down here into the hideout. So then the militia guys are using that kind of trapdoor to crawl up into this house right here to get out on the battlefield, and that's what kind of these little spots in there are. It's like the these militia guys are like climbing up that trapdoor, and they're taking gun positions in the basement here on both sides, and then they have an entrance to get into the house here. So that's kind of my plan if I really want to include that. But again, that'll probably be like in the finale episode. I'll go back in and add like a trapdoor and then maybe a ladder or something, so the militia guys can climb from down there and go up into here and join the fight against the Republic. So that's kind of one of the main ideas behind this building, and I think that'll be a cool effect once I get it finished. Alright guys, so back on the statue area. I know I kind of started it at the beginning of the episode and I didn't really do anything with it, but I wanted to focus on the building because I thought that'd be a little more important right now. So back to this fountain area, if you guys remember the Stalingrad thing I was talking about with the fountain. So pretty much I went through a lot of different just quick designs. I didn't really document any of them because it was like not much I really could document because it was very, very quick designs that I just really quickly realized weren't going to work. But I think I finally found something that is going to hopefully work. So as you can see, I've got all the assassin droids. Well, I guess they're not assassin droids anymore. They're just, we're just using them as statues, but they're the assassin droids body and arms. But anyway, we've got our statues right there, and then you can kind of see down in here, I've got these slopes, and you can see they're kind of like studs not on top, where they're all kind of lined up on the ground here. I guess this one's a good one to look at right here. So you can kind of see that I've got 3 of them, and they're all, 2 of them are kind of facing one direction and 1 is facing the other. When you do this, you can do this with any like size of slopes. I've never really, actually, a lot of people do it, but I've never tried it before, at least like in one of these MOCs. So I thought it was cool to try and do this because it's a very cool design. And I obviously I don't know who created the design because it's been around for a really, really long time, but I tried to do this one with like the 1x3 slopes, I think there's what they're called, instead of like a different size slope. So these are the 1x3 slopes, I think. I could be wrong on that, but anyway, so I've got them all kind of lined up here around the edges so that they line up and fit in this little, so you see these two light gray large slopes. I've got these dark gray slopes that they line up and they fit kind of in between it, so it looks really good in terms of like it just feels like it fits right there. And you can see it's got like a very cool pattern on the inside. Sorry, it's a little tight in here for the camera. You can see down in there, there's a pretty cool kind of pattern down there, at least like of empty spaces. It's kind of like a little like kind of cross in there if you can kind of see it. So I'm gonna put some water studs in there, I think, and kind of make it like a little fountain area. If that doesn't work, then I'm gonna try something else and just make it entirely dark gray. So I'll update you guys here in a little bit. All right, so I filled in that little gap right there with some like 1x1 trans blue and 1x1 trans blue studs, and then 1x1 trans blue plates as well. And you can see it's kind of filled in now, so I think it's going to kind of be like a little fountain area. So we've got the little kind of cross shape right there, and then it's going to be filled with water, and then the slopes still kind of surround the water and the statue area. So I'm going to keep it like this for now because I'm okay with it, and it's a little bit of a smaller task. It's still important, but there's a few other things I need to get to that I really need to focus on and get done before I kind of move on to some of these more finishing touches. So for now, I'm going to kind of leave it as it is, and then I'll show a shot here at the end with like all the arms in the correct positions on the kind of statues right there, because they're all just kind of set in stone right now. So I'll show you guys that by the end of the video. Here's a little bit of a closer look at the statue here. I think it's gonna be cool to have a few clone troopers like taking cover behind the statues. I think in particular that's gonna look really good. And then I'll probably try to recreate like one of the famous Stalingrad pictures of like the statue with the destroyed buildings in the background. I might try to get a very similar picture with like some of the bombed out buildings here in the village, and then like this statue just kind of standing in the middle of all the damaged village, and hopefully it'll give a similar kind of cool eerie feel, but in kind of Lego form. So that might be something fun to try. But yeah, in terms of minifig kind of comparison, obviously like the assassin droid bodies are a minifig, and I just got them up on the slope, so they're fairly tall, so definitely some clones will be able to take cover behind them. I think that'll be a really cool shot as well. So just wanted to give a quick kind of look at the fountain slash statue area, I guess is what we'll call it for now. We've got like all their arms outstretched and they're kind of all holding hands, just like the Stalingrad picture that I was kind of referencing for this statue area. And you also will notice that I went in and repaired the path because I had to tear it apart to create this new building and to kind of create this statue area. So I finally repaired it. So now it kind of just wraps around the outside of the fountain, and I think it actually looks a lot better this way because now it kind of, I don't know, it just makes it seem like it's, you know, I like the idea that it kind of goes around an object. So like it's circled around the fountain area here, and then it still splits off into all the different ways. But I think it looks pretty cool here. I was a little worried that I wasn't going to like the way it looked. The path isn't done yet, obviously. Like there's some touching up here I need to do to make it not so just straight. I need to make it a little more kind of jagged and rough, but this is the general idea. So now it's kind of circling around the fountain, which I think looks pretty nice. But I'm pretty happy with this episode because I actually got a lot more done than I thought I was going to get done. So real quick, I'll just show everything that I kind of got done for this episode. And the big thing that I got done for this episode was this building. I was really trying to get it done, like 100% done, but I kind of ran out of time and I've got to go back to college now. But for the time I had while I was back for this weekend, I was able to get quite a lot done, so I'm definitely happy with the way the building is looking so far. I'm definitely curious to see what you guys have to say. In particular, the design that I went with for the light gray part down there with kind of those 1x2 bricks with the curve, or not the curve, the 1x2 bricks with the kind of gap in the middle of them, along with kind of those dark gray plates. Very curious to see what you guys think about that because I was on the fence. I was on the fence when I started building, but now I've kind of like the way it came out. So definitely interested to hear what you guys have to say. And of course, all the ruined structure up here with the building, I think it turned out okay. It definitely could use some improvements here and there, but and then obviously like all these kind of side parts filled in and everything like that. So I'm pretty happy with this building. It was a lot of work, and I'm definitely really excited to hear what you guys have to say because I'm sure I'll get some good feedback, and I definitely think you guys are probably going to have a few ideas that could make this portion of the build a little bit better. And then of course the fountain slash statue was the other thing that I got done for this episode. I wouldn't call it done yet. I kind of just put it together here as kind of a mostly done, you know, could change. a lot of the stuff that I mention every episode where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to change this later, most likely that's all going to be kind of in the big finale for this series, where I kind of go in and fix all the small things that I left undone throughout the series. So this will probably be something that I'll come back in and touch up for the finale. But as it stands right now, here is the statue area referenced from like the famous Stalingrad picture. So curious to hear if you guys like the idea of using the droid bodies. As I mentioned in the beginning of the episode, that was kind of what I decided to use. So I'm curious to see if that works, because it might not. I could, it could just be kind of weird that there's a bunch of droid statues. But since I don't have the just plain minifig torsos without any print on them, I think this might be the next best option. So very exciting episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I'm gonna have a lot of fun editing this thing together, and of course hearing back from you guys once I post the video. So I guess we'll just move on to the outro. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed. This was a really fun episode to make. I put a lot of detail into this building, trying to make it unique, but I'm also trying to make it still fit that overall feeling that the village gives off in this build, with the more Stalingrad type feels in terms of what the village is supposed to look like. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm looking for a lot of feedback, so let me know what you think about the building, and let me know what you think about the fountain/statue area. And if you guys have any cool ideas, I think there's a lot of awesome possibilities that this kind of area of the village could go in. So definitely let me know, and I'll be reading through those and responding to them. So overall, I had a really fun time making this episode, and I hope you guys enjoyed. And stay tuned for the next video, which should be the Project Nightfall Episode 3 video. So hope you guys are excited for that. And then I don't know when exactly dates are going to line up for the next Clone Wars mock update. Because I put a lot of time into this one building. I originally came home to, plan on making 2 episodes, but I ended up putting so much work into one building in the statue area that I kind of combined them and made them just 1 episode. So that means that it might be an extra week before you get the next Clone Wars mock update, and I really, really do apologize for that. But I just put a lot of work into this one building in this area of the village, so I wasn't able to get the next part that I wanted to get done for the next Clone Wars mock update video. So you might have to wait an extra week. I really do apologize. I really hate missing a week, but I just put so much time to this one that I couldn't really make another episode while I'm here for the weekend, because now I've got to head back to college. So I hope you guys understand that. Again, my apologies, but don't worry, the next episode should be awesome. I have a really cool idea of what I want to do for the one final large-scale building that I have left. So I hope you guys are excited for that. And yeah, hope you enjoyed the episode. Definitely leave any feedback in the comment section below. I hope you guys have a great day, and may the Force be with you always.